at this point in time, we can't get away with less bad. We have to get it right.
Absolutely.
Because we are at that moment where we have to make big changes towards cleaning and saving the air and water that we have. So we have to radically look at everything to make it good and to make it generous and to make it give back.
Yeah. And it's interesting, as I keep talking to people for this podcast, I keep noticing that a lot of what it comes down to is culture. It's a lot of these problems. That's like the core piece is changing culture. And that's why, I think starting over, if you can build the culture from the ground up with the idea that we build everything gets built in a way that is cohesive with the planet and nature, then that's just what happens. It just happens from the ground up, and everyone's like, oh, that's just what we do. It's not, there's not, this fight of, well, we're looking for profit, or, we just do that, and everyone just knows it, and that's just how you operate. It's not fought over. It's just, that's what people do.
We used to have that.
Really?
Many native cultures.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm not suggesting that we go back to the time where we don't wear clothes and we cook everything on fire, but the approach towards nature to know that we can kill just enough buffaloes to make sure that the herd comes back next year and that we have buffaloes next year, or we can fish as many salmons to get to this point, and then the rest needs to go upstream so that we don't kill the entire tribe, so that we can ensure we have salmon next year. The native cultures had it figured out. They were in tune with nature. They had that connection to nature. We lost the connection, in my opinion, we lost our connection when we started producing things faster than we could have done with machines. And that's when we started seeing nature as this endless resource that we can tap into to make money by doing it really fast, too, faster than nature can be stored. And having that function for those 2 seconds so far made us feel as if we can master nature. And that's what removed us from nature, because suddenly it wasn't the human was able to dominate nature for a minute. And so that needs a paradigm shift. As I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's definitely important to do that.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing too now is I think we can come back around to that with machine learning and algorithms that we can program to be okay, we have this many people, they all need to be fed. People seem to be eating based on what we know about this much of this here in these areas. Okay, if we produce this much of this, everyone will be fed, and we can make this, have this many cows be born and use. If we use all these parts, we'll be a lot more efficient and won't cause as much waste and have as much excess that's not getting even used.
And the closed loop approach for industries, it would be nice if, and I was disillusioned a little bit when I learned that some companies, for example, that use leather products have a farm or a factory farm for their leather products. So they're not necessarily tapped into the meat industry where you could get the leather from. And maybe one waste of one producer could become the resource for a different producer. Instead of everyone having their own, to be able to control the whole flow. So that was one of the things that we need to look at with circular economy and the closed loop kind of approach, where we don't waste anything. We all know Eskimos, when they kill a whale, they use every single little piece of that whale because it's precious. And so we have to look at all the things that we purchase and see who produced it. Was it a waste material from some other company, and if not, why not, and how could it be? So in some ways, we're back to technology, because the technology is not necessarily able to always adjust for new requests. We just had last weekend at the Y conference in San Diego, Deborah Adler spoke, and she's the one who designed the prescription system for Target that prevented people from taking someone else's medicine by accident. Oh, wow. And she has this dream of making a square bottle so that it's easier to label it and put the writing on there. It's easier for people to read. And she said she's hitting walls with trying to come up with a square bottle that would work at that scale for CVS or Target or someone. And even just as simple as that, making a square bottle instead of a round bottle is a huge undertaking. So just systems thinking-wise, it's really difficult to make little changes. Because all the machines and everything are designed for the round bottles. And
you guys are changing the entire thing.
Yeah.
Fascinating. God, it's also fascinating.
We got lots of work to do.
Don't we? So before implementing our plan, right? Like, we kind of have to go in, we have to, let's say we've surveyed the area, we've kind of got an idea of what we should do. What are some of the ways that we could test some of these ideas before we go and like actually build the city that we kind of come up with, that we think it should be? How do we kind of make sure that's what it should be?
Right. Well, definitely. So one of the last principles is to build from the bottom up and build in a modular way. So definitely, I mean, it's a simple solution, but just do small scale implementations and start with one step at a time. In UX design, we know it's the same thing. You implement one change and then you test the system to see if it still works, and then you make another change and then you test the system again. If you were to introduce, let's say, 120 changes to one UX system and it wouldn't work, you wouldn't know where to look where it didn't work.
Right.
So the same thing with this, it would be nice, and that's one of the constraints that we talked about, how it might take a little longer to get to the end product. If there is ever an end of the product, but in a certain way, it would be really the best case scenario to implement one thing and then live with it and see how the ecosystem responds to it, how people respond to it, how it holds up. Maybe go through all the 4 seasons and let the different storms and the different pressures and temperatures and sun angles take a beating at it and see if it holds up. And then build it out once we know what works and what not. And iteration, I mean, looking to nature, every organism has had iterations to get to here. There are fish that didn't have eyes, and then they had to find ways to see on land, and they developed eyes, and it took millions of years. And so for us too, we can start with one component and then add to it as we go and see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I wonder how many different kinds of eyes some fish tried out before they found the ones that worked.
Well, it was an evolution, so they started seeing light at first without seeing the contours, for example. Or they had maybe multiple eyes and they started losing. And only kept 2 eyes because that's all they
filter them out, Like the 4-eyed fish was doing much better than the 5-eyed fish. Exactly. Getting eaten way less.
That sounds like an amazing book. I think you should do research on that.
All right,
Look at the eyes of the fish. And there was actually a book that I think I remember that was written about eyes in nature. I need to look that up. Yeah.
So what are some of the best resources on this topic? Where can people go to dive more into biomimicry? You can talk about really whatever you want, but obviously some on biomimicry and like building cities, but then also more like the visual and just the using biomimicry to design maybe business or a structure or a product.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things happening right now in biomimicry as a discipline, and I really would like to promote the Generous City Summit page that was put together, and it's on so ASU has an online program and a biomimicry center. The online program is a master's program for people to take. It's all online. So as part of the center, they organized the summit, and on their page at biomimicry.asu.edu is a link to resources that were given during that talk. That's specifically for urban design.
Nice.
In general, so for biomimicry in general, I would definitely recommend going to check out TED Talks by Janine Benyus and by Dana Baumeister. Those are the 2 leading powerful women that are out there promoting the meme. And then asknature.org is an amazing website where you can you can ask questions. Nature, how do you do it? I mean, it's called asknature.org.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of database material that was translated from science into language that you and I can understand, where you could actually get inspiration of how things were done.
Wow.
They have organism information. They also have applied projects of things that have been implemented already based on those organisms. So that's a really great resource to get inspired by. And then there's a resource that I would love to share with your listeners. And my website is naturefactor.com.
Yeah, please.
And I will make it naturefactor.com/JP. And then I will put some resources up there with videos and books and handouts and things like that they can download.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But this is really interesting. Ask nature. I'm here right now.
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Yeah, ask.
Let's ask nature. Let's see what nature has for us. What do you think? What should we look at? What do you think?
Let's ask build shelter.
Build shelter. All right. Let's see what you think. Should we do? We have elf shelter, water rainfall collector, shelter materials, elf shelter. Are there elves? Are those real?
No. Elf shelter. I don't know.
Shelter constructed underwater.
Providing shelter for multiple organisms.
Should we do that one?
Yeah, or the foam provides shelter. Yeah.
Let's check both these out. I think these both sound interesting. Okay. So.
Oak tree.
Yeah, an oak tree. Okay, so a mature oak tree to provide shelter for hundreds of moths, birds, and bugs. Each part of the tree houses its own inhabitants. Fascinating.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about trees is that they have organisms living in them that live at different levels. So in a sense, creating niches. So the organisms that live in the top of the tree might not ever cross paths with the ones that live at the bottom of the tree.
Interesting.
Because they have different needs. Some of them might need more light, some of them need less light and more water. And so one tree provides all these various kind of shelter types for organisms to live in. And they all get along in a sense because they don't necessarily have to go into each other's space. And so, yeah.
That's an interesting idea. So what my mind immediately goes to is designing the city. Maybe the whole thing is like a tree structure that's like a giant, like just a magnificent giant tree. And everyone lives in different parts of that tree or building is obviously would be. And I get nervous with segmenting it out, but I think there's a certain amount of like people want to be around people that are like them, like their community. Like that's what people do anyways. Like I live in downtown Phoenix because I'm a very creative, artsy type of person. A lot of those people are here. I'm very entrepreneurial. There's an entrepreneurial community popping up. There's a big tech scene around here. I'm very into tech. So I want to be around that. That's why I live here. I want to be around those people. So it's going to happen anyways. Like I think designing for that, where it's like, hey, your people are going to be here. This section is really designed for you. And you can go to other sections. Obviously, it's not like you can't go up to the next level. It's not. I think where we get in trouble with sections is when it's status oriented instead of this is just your people, right? If it's just, hey, you're a creative, you're with the creatives, you're more a mathematician, you're with other math people that just like doing number stuff.
Sure, and I mean, so there's another term that I really, really love, and everybody who knows me knows that this term is part of my everyday language, but it's called an ecotone. An ecotone is where two biomes meet. So maybe the forest might border on the river. And in that section where the forest meets the river, there's higher diversity because there's more activity, because all the organisms from the river come to it and all the organisms from the forest come to it. So they're actually exchanging resources and strategies and all that in that narrow strip that is called the ecotone. But then they go back into their habitat. So you have your apartments, but then when you step out, you're surrounded by people that are inspiring you because you're working on the same value system or you're moving forward to the same shared goals. And so if our island that we purchased has a lot of tall trees, I think we should look at what kind of organisms live in those trees and see what activities they have and how do they leverage that position and see what activities and values would match up with that to provide that kind of structure. But yeah, definitely. And then maybe have spaces where we would organically have people cross that are not the same to promote that ecotone kind of activity.
I think that is also very important because having those, it's what Tony Shea from Zappos, I don't know. You know him? Yeah, he's great. He's built his culture and his building, his new, or it's not new anymore, but
in
Vegas,
yes.
In downtown Vegas. He's built his office in a way to provide what he calls collisions. I'm pretty sure.
That's great.
I need to double check. I'm pretty sure they're called collisions. And it's to get people who otherwise wouldn't see each other, like from a marketing department and maybe the software development department, to meet and talk. And sometimes out of those discussions, new brilliant ideas come about because they're talking